Very good evening to everyone. I'm very excited to be speaking to you today. Although I will start this presentation by being a little bit more honest and more personal. I started this week in Bangkok and I was slightly depressed. I was speaking to about 3 banks and they were saying that with extreme competition that is happening in the market, their margins were being squeezed. And they will probably report the lowest growth of profits, if they ever show profits at all, this year over last year in as many years. And then I was speaking to one other institution that was complaining about how the regulators were forcing them to report so much and to comply with so much guidelines and new regulation, to the extent that about 35% of their spending would be allocated to compliance. And Bob made a point earlier about one individual that made huge changes to and right changes to the digital units within the institution. I think Bob, that was 4. And he said that this particular individual got fired because he was doing the right things. I have 2 friends up in Hong Kong who are doing a lot of digital initiatives in their respective financial institutions, and they had to quit jobs mainly because they were doing the right things. This made me quite sad, in that this made me feel that the financial services industry these days, it does seem that there is, I think the next slide, it does seem that there is, it's very hard to see a bright future in financial services these days. There's also the rise of fintechs that are really promising to disintermediate us from our traditional businesses. And it's going to be very difficult, hopefully. We're going to see less difficulty moving forward, but it is difficult to compete with these new startups that are a lot more dynamic, a lot more aggressive than us. But then I spoke to Jaideep, and Jaideep told me some time ago that you have to come to India and we'll make all your problems disappear. And true enough, as soon as I landed in India, it did seem that I was a lot more happy. And a lot of these problems that I was facing terrified in my mind, and that I feel more positive about the future of financial services. And the future of financial services is actually quite interesting because, especially this year and probably next year as well, we're going to resolve some of the long-standing problems of our industry. And I will talk about these 3 happy scenarios of how exactly our future is becoming brighter and brighter as we resolve these long-standing problems in our industry. And the first problem that I could talk about is that in the Asia-Pacific region, we've got this very difficult number to resolve, that about 50% of our population is unbanked. But very quickly, as we saw in the UPI, for example, the Aadhaar system in India, and I think we need to give India a special award just for being India. And thanks to India, I think the financial inclusion metrics of the Asia-Pacific region is succeeding, right? We are probably going to see about 65% of our population going to be banked this year alone. And we actually saw some Guinness Book of Records being broken thanks to India's financial inclusion initiatives. Also, I think India will lead this key trend in our industry that we are anticipating of electronic KYC. And this will facilitate a lot more account opening, a lot more know your customer initiatives to really succeed in the region. Therefore, there will be a lot more cross-sell and upsell opportunities that I think India, as well as countries that are also succeeding in financial inclusion, will be able to undertake. There's several supporting technologies here. Obviously, we're going to talk about next generation mobile tech in some of our sessions tomorrow. Biometrics is a forward-looking way for authentication, locational intelligence that allows us to provide context to our relationships and meaning to the conversations that we'll be having with our customers, as well as a lot of multimedia capabilities that Adobe earlier was talking about. The second happy scenario also resolve some of the long-standing problems of our industry, that the industry and in financial services, but also other industries, is facing this very stubborn low satisfaction rates among our customers. Customer satisfaction, if you look at customer advocacy rates and the metrics for customer satisfaction, has been stagnant for a long time in Asia-Pacific financial services, but also in other industries as well. But I quickly discovered in my conversations this week in India that the industry continues to see success in customer data integration programs, in being able to understand the customer as a customer of the institution. I would say that about 65% of banks in the region already have a working single customer view. Now, this is a long-standing program and work of a lot of our institutions, but increasingly as we become more focused on customer data integration, we want to talk about more of this big data analytics capabilities, advanced statistics, and so on. We should be able to move towards a customer segment of one, moving closer really to a market of one. Supporting technologies here would include enterprise data architectures, obviously the omni-channel experience that was invented in IDC 7 years ago, and the anonymization of personally identifiable information supported by some of the initiatives around GDPR and customer privacy guidelines, as well as visualization of this data that comes to the institution to be able to appreciate the opportunities that you have with your customer relationships. The third happy scenario is that transformation might actually be easier for now. And I'll go through this very quickly because this problem of us not being able to undertake big transformation programs that seemed quite impossible might actually be easier these days. This is a point that Jerry Silva, our colleague from IDC Financial Insights, really tried to elaborate earlier on. And Jerry's core abstraction concept actually speaks of the ability of the institution to simplify the core. And in his words, it is to dumb down the core, but also to build a lot more capabilities around the core. So while we maintain this huge, stubborn programs of work for core banking, we should be able to innovate around the core as well. Supporting technologies here would be modular and open core banking systems, the API platforms that Jerry was talking about, as well as the cloud-based app development. Now, these are just the three happy possibilities of our future. First, we will see the fastest growth in number of accounts ever in 2017. We will move much closer to a market segment of one. Transformation will be hopefully a lot more easier with this concept of core abstraction, core simplification. We will be able to do more despite low IT budget growth. And I think the fifth and quite controversial statement here is that there will be friendlier regulatory compliance that is worth an agenda for a full day conference to talk about how regulators are in fact becoming more open to innovation. But let's leave that for now. This made me a lot more happy in a very short period of time that I've been here in India. And I look forward to really a future of many happy possibilities in financial services. What also makes me a lot more happy is that financial services as an institution or as an industry, we're changing a lot. We're transforming the model of financial services. And I'll talk about the three ways in which we are changing and transforming the very business model of financial services. The first concept is that of open to collaboration. And this is what Jerry talked about, openness to partnership. We have put together what we call a FinTech Fast 50, which is a collection of what we think would be the 50 FinTech companies. So this would primarily be startup or startup-like type of companies who we think are worth watching in financial services. You have India here, represented by the likes of Bazaar or Bankbazar, and of course ATM, who would be ATM here. But these are the 50 fintechs that would probably be very relevant moving forward in financial services in our region. Now, we put this together in January, February this year, and we will continue to update this list of past 50 fintechs to watch. The point here is that they are becoming bigger, more credible in financial services, and they will also change the way that we collaborate and transact with our customers. We went further and actually looked at about 33 collaborations that succeeded in financial services in the region. We looked at 33 projects between banks, insurers, as well as the fintech companies. These are actual projects that went live in 2016 and the early part of 2017. We surveyed these fintech companies, so we did not survey the banks, we surveyed the fintech companies and asked them to rate between a scale of 1 to 10 how they would look at banks. And it turns out that they are not looking at banks as mortal enemies. The fintechs are not out to disrupt the banks. Instead, they are in a happy sort of, close to 10 score of being not quite super friends with banks, but they really want to partner with the financial services institutions or the traditional financial services institutions. The experience of about these 33 financial services institutions also indicate that just also to manage your expectations, it takes about a year. It's the average time taken for a fintech and bank collaboration to actually go to market. And if you break down this 1 year further, you would be able to see that 61% would go from idea to proof of concept after 6 months. That's the standard in financial services in the region. And then about 75% of these would go from POC to full deployment. It's not the ideal scenario. We obviously want to go to market in a very short period of time, but this is the benchmark that we have for the region so far. And of course, because we are prone to blame regulators, we say that regulators, as well as the compliance teams with our institutions, are the main reasons why we're taking that period of time to really innovate and change financial services. We've also put together a list of 40 categories of fintech innovation. We should be able to distribute that to you. You can write me and write our team. You will get a sense of where the innovations are happening. In the areas of blockchain, for example, in the areas of trusted payments, in the area of occupational intelligence. There's a lot of innovation that's happening across this 13 markets in the region. About 40 categories are worth tracking, and each of these categories will probably have about 20 key fintechs to watch as well. All right. So that brings us to the concept of where exactly innovation is happening. There are 3 key categories of fintech collaboration in 2017 so far: payments, obviously, remittance, as well as customer analytics. But if you also ask the fintech players themselves, what is in their ideal scenario the reason why they would succeed, it would be probably the ability of the institution or the traditional financial services institution to offer an API framework. So the API framework, as well as the API platform, as well as API gateways, will be very critical for a lot of our institutions to succeed together with the fintechs. And enough of all this, we will be more open, it will be more collaborative. You do not have this open type of framework that is supported by APIs. You're just doing just typical lip service. This changes the framework of financial services. Previously, it was all about us versus them, banks versus the outsiders. But now I think the traditional financial services institutions realize that it is us together with them. That is the first transformation that I think is happening in financial services. The second transformation is that of this concept of data monetization. And I think in the previous presentations, we already talked about how data, or how data that allows us to understand our customers would actually be useful in us being able to extend the business models or the revenues that we are traditionally making. There are a lot of examples here, but one particular example that I thought was very important to note in this gathering is that this initiative of Data Republic. This is a joint venture between Qantas, the airline, National Australia Bank, as well as Westpac, in that they are able to share data about loyalty points, but also for airlines, the loyalty points for their cards, and able to make sense of the data to really understand the customer. There are 8 other similar initiatives in the region, led by some institutions, obviously in Australia, because Australia just recently enacted the Data Utilization and Access Initiative, which sort of copies the PSD2 initiative in Europe, in us being able to allow greater openness of data that is held by the bank, but is actually, in fact, according to this regulation or this guideline, in fact owned by the customer. So some technologies that would be very relevant to this discussion of data monetization is that of architecture for data acquisition, transportation for traditional ETL capabilities would really have to transform analytics and dashboards, as well as security and access and control. This transformation is illustrated by this particular picture. in that we now understand that we have to change from the traditional view of data that sits within a financial services institution. We view customer data as something that we own, we control, and manage totally. But now with the advent of these open platforms, we should be able to extend data that is needed as we build data pipelines in and out of the organization. It does not have to have a monetary exchange. It can be an exchange of value. So the point here is that as we build the API platforms and an open banking platform, we should be able to share data that can be shared outside of the institution to third parties. That hopefully will be able to allow us to understand our customers better and also serve our customers' data better as well. The third and final transformation that's happening in financial services is also quite interesting in that we are cognizant of the fact that we really have to be a part of the lifestyle of the customer. Now there is, statements of banks that say that banking needs to change, that we need to be a lot more seamless with our transactions, but also in the life of the customer. And I think Bob earlier expressed